All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Panelists, can you all hear me and can you see the screen correctly? Excellent, thank you. So thank you all for joining us today and welcome to the New York State Department of State's Small Business Resources webinar. There are many regionally based resources located throughout New York State that are designed specifically to assist entrepreneurs and small businesses and nonprofits. And today we're lucky to have representatives joining us to tell us a little bit more about these resources, who they're for, and how to best access them. Our panelists today, I am Lissa Diaquani. I'm a revitalization specialist with the New York State Department of State. We're joined by Martha Otero. She's with New York State Empire State Development, and she's going to be talking to us about Entrepreneurial Assistance Centers, also known as EACs. We're also joined by Sonia Smith with the New York State Business Development Centers, and she's going to be talking to us about small business development centers. And then we're going to learn about community development financial institutions, and specifically Nicole Scribner with Pursuit Lending, and Tyra Johnson Hucks with the Local Initiative Support Corporation, otherwise known as LISC, will be talking to us about CDFIs and the services that their individual CDFIs present. So before we get started, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about the Downtown Revitalization Initiative and the New York State's New York Forward program. The Downtown Revitalization Initiative, otherwise known as DRI, was launched in 2016. We're currently in round 6, and each year the DRI program invests $100 million in 10 different communities in New York State. So there are 10 economic development councils throughout New York State, and each economic development council receives $10 million to award to one community. They can award it to one community, or they can award it to 2 or 3 smaller communities that are joined by a single vision. And the winner receives $10 million. That's $9.7 million for projects, with $300,000 for planning. We are about to go into round 7 of the DRI program. The deadline for that is September 29th, next Friday, not this coming Friday, but next Friday at 4:00 p.m. And Matt is going to drop in the chat for you the link to the New York State Department of State DRI program so that you can learn more about the deadline. Here's a map of the 10 different regions. So you can see the regions are Long Island, New York City, Mid-Hudson, the Capital Region, North Country, Mohawk Valley, Southern Tier, Central New York, Finger Lakes, and Western New York. And on this slide, you can also see the awardees for the DRI programs from round 1 all the way through round 6. To date, DRI has invested $700 million in 69 downtown communities across New York State. And then we have the New York Forward program. New York Forward was launched last year. It's for smaller and rural communities. We're currently in round 1 of New York Forward. For New York Forward, New York State invests $100 million. Again, it's through the Regional Economic Development Councils. And this time they choose 2 to 3 communities. So 2 communities that could either receive $4.5 million each, or 1 community that receives $4.5 million and 2 communities that receive $2.25 million. And there is additional money that goes into the planning for those communities as well. Planning is a big part of the DRI and the New York Forward communities. It's plan, then act. And here's a map of the New York Forward communities that were awarded this past year. Again, we've awarded $100 million in 24 downtowns across New York State. So you can see there are a couple of regions, North Country, Mohawk Valley, Capital Region, and Central New York, all of which received the monies for 3 New York Forward communities, and all of the other regions awarded 2 communities. So the goals for the DRI and New York Forward programs are to create an active and desirable downtown with a strong sense of place, to attract businesses that create a robust mix of shopping, dining, entertainment, and service options for residents and visitors, and that provide job opportunities for a variety of skills and salaries, to enhance public spaces for arts and cultural events that serve the existing members of the community, but also draw in attendees from around the region, to build a diverse population with residents and workers supported by complementary diverse housing and employment opportunities, to grow the local property tax base, to provide amenities that support and enhance downtown living and quality of life, and to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by creating compact, walkable development patterns that increase public transit ridership. As you can see, several of these bullets underscore the important role that small businesses and nonprofits play in the revitalization of our downtowns and main streets. So the technical assistance and financing programs that we'll be talking about today aren't just for DRI and New York Forward communities. We're recording this webinar, and we encourage you to share the information and the links that Matt will be providing throughout the webinar with others in your community who may be interested in starting or expanding a business or nonprofit. We ask that you hold questions until the end, or please drop them in the chat, and Matt will be monitoring the chat to make sure that we answer your questions at the end. First up, I would like to introduce Martha Otero. Martha is the Vice President of Entrepreneur Development and Operations with the New York State Empire State Development. For the past 3 years, Martha has been overseeing the development of technical and direct assistance programs and services to assist entrepreneurs and micro and small business owners to start and grow in New York State. And I will hand it over to Martha.
Great. Thank you very much, Lisa. Good afternoon, everyone. So like Lisa said, I am with the Empire State Development, and the mission of Empire State Development is, Lisa, can you go to the next slide? So, yep, there you go. Thanks. Didn't want to be ahead. So the mission of Empire State Development is to promote vigorous and growing state economy and encourage business investment and job creation, and to support diverse, prosperous local economies across New York State. And we do it through the efficient use of loans, grants, tax credits, real estate development, marketing, and other type of assistance. Next, please. So I am with the Small Business and Technology Development Division at Empire State Development, and this division consists of 5 teams, and one of them is Capital Access. The other one is the Division of Science and Technology and Innovation, also known as NYSTAR, and Life Science Initiatives, New York Ventures, and the Entrepreneur Development, which is the unit that I represent. Now, the SBTD supports New York State small businesses and entrepreneurs by helping them to access financing, technical assistance, entrepreneurship, procurement, innovation, as well as technology development, and also venture investments. Next slide, please. So the Entrepreneur Development Unit has 4 programs that we mainly focus in helping small businesses to be able to start as well as to grow in New York State. And the programs are the Entrepreneurship Assistance Centers Program, Procurement Assistance, Business Mentor NY Program, and Direct Business Assistance. Next slide. So the Entrepreneurship Assistance Centers programs provides one-on-one counseling on the feasibility of starting a business as well as refining a business concept or even pivoting a current business model. Another type of assistance that we do provide is helping small businesses to access working capital. We also have a 60-hour business plan training program that is based on the business model Canvas methodology, and we have a cohort that just recently started. Most of our EACs have started this cohort. The centers also provide all of these services in multiple languages, and the way that we are able to do it is through 24 centers that are located throughout all of New York State. And if Lisa, yep, there goes the slide of the 24 centers that we have strategically located throughout New York State. And in the previous slide, there was the link to all of these centers where you can get information on the services that are being provided. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned before, one of the other services that we do provide is procurement assistance. And we have a dedicated individual that assists small businesses to identify contracting opportunities with state government agencies, and also as well as identifying what are some of the specific purchases that or services that a company may have, and trying to match them with the agency. And also what we do is we do provide instruction on how a business can also get on the bidders list. And we also help small businesses to learn about the various certifications requirements that may be through different agencies, state agencies, or at the federal level. We provide assistance with that. And there's a link for the procurement assistance that is provided. And next slide, please. So another program that we have is Business Mentor NY, and this is a free virtual mentoring program. It's an online platform that facilitates the match between professionals as well as entrepreneurs. And some of the other assistance that is provided through this mentorship is to be able to help mentors advise the mentees and provide support to these small businesses to help them to overcome any challenges that they may have. And one of the wonderful things is that all of these services are provided by volunteers that are in various industries and with different skill sets to help their mentees. And the sessions can be, all of the sessions are done online, whether through the internet or either through phone calls, or and the sessions can be as long as needed. So the engagements are dependent upon the mentor and the mentee. So another service that we also provide is direct business assistance. And one of the individuals, we have someone in-house that is the small business liaison, and she provides one-on-one assistance to entrepreneurs and small business owners in helping them to resolve any issues that they may have that is affecting in any way or impeding their business operation. So another service that we also provide is a dedicated individual that helps with any issues that a person may have with their contract, New York State Contract Reporter, which is the online publication of procurement opportunities with New York State. And they help in either establishing the business account or navigating their account or whatever issues they may have. And also what we do provide is direct assistance in helping small business owners access whatever programs and services that are appropriate for their business, whether that may be at the state, the federal, or at the local level. So these are very briefly some of the services that the Entrepreneur Development and Operations team provides to small businesses and entrepreneurs to help them start or grow in New York State. Thank you very much, Lisa, and thank you all.
Thank you so much, Martha. And as you can see, there are quite a few programs and services that are offered by Empire State Development. Matt dropped links to a lot of those programs in the chat, and so we'll also have it available at the end of the presentation with this slide deck. So next, I'd like to introduce Sonia Smith. Sonia serves as the State Director of the New York Small Business Development Centers, which is hosted by the State University of New York. Sonia is known for bringing together public and private partnerships and creating innovative programs to assist small businesses that are served by SBDC. She has risen in the ranks through SBDC and is the first woman and first African-American appointed to lead New York's vast SBDC network in its nearly 40-year history. Congratulations, Sonia. Ms. Smith previously served as the Pennsylvania SBDC's Associate State Director of Programs and Policy. And I'll hand it over to Sonia. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. I will go to my screen now because I will be sharing my presentation. Melissa, it says you have to stop sharing.
I thought I had. Okay. Excuse me. Let's see. There we go. Okay.
Okay.
Now you should be able to share.
Can you see my screen okay?
Not yet.
You said not yet?
Not yet. Now we can.
Sorry about that. So good afternoon. As Melissa stated, I am Sonia Smith, the State Director of the New York Small Business Development Center. Yes, and I am open to the slides being shared for our organization where it'd be a little bit easier for you to go to links and any of the information that we're sharing during these presentations. For the DRI as well as the New York Forward program, where the New York Small Business Development Centers are able to assist is when that community revitalization is done and the organizations and businesses are being attracted to New York State and your local communities, we are able to support any of those business startups, expansions, as well as filling vacancies. And that can be in conjunction with other incubator or accelerator programs, as well as EACs. We do partner with other organizations to help when it comes to technical assistance and educational programs across New York State. As this is my information here and who I am. New York State, the Small Business Development Centers is a national program. In the state of New York, as I mentioned, we focus on technical assistance for startup and existing businesses across the state. We work with all life stages of a business, so it can be also from the idea stage to startup to growth and scaling up your business into existing markets. That can also entail succession planning and business acquisition and selling your business. I mentioned we have our emphasis on one-on-one advising. We do focus on educational programming and events for small business needs. And then the other pillar other two pillars that I will talk about later is our research assistants. We have 4 in-house librarians that help with market research, inventory, price cost lists, looking at competitors, things of that nature, to assist with the business needs. So we do help with research assistance. There are costly databases and other software and platforms that we have access to, either in-house through the SBDC or at our host institutions. So that does take the burden off of the small business owner. And then the 4th pillar is on advocacy, on helping with small business needs when it comes to outreach to your local legislators to talk about what the issues are for the constituents. So our emphasis are, as I mentioned, are focused on small business and training. We do a lot of support for MWBE, our veteran entrepreneurs, as well as for our special need entrepreneurs. We have a creative program that we started last year for entrepreneurs with disabilities, and this is to help with entrepreneurship across the state of New York. I mentioned a little bit about how we're hosted. So it is a public-private partnership. We are hosted at 22 campuses across the state of New York. I'll put up another map on the next slide on where those locations are. These are through SUNY, CUNY, and campuses and community colleges, as well as 2 privates at Pace and Columbia University. We have 70 outreach offices. So outside of those 22 offices, we try to be more in the community. So that's at chambers of commerce, industrial development agencies, economic development agencies, or workforce, BOCES, EOCs, any of those types of organizations. You'll find an SBDC might have touchdown space or an actual office. So we are within the communities. I talked a little bit about the research tools, and as I mentioned, we have the specialized librarians that be able to look at market analysis in conjunction with any of the services when it comes to one-on-one advising and technical assistance. These are the locations of the SBDCs across the state. I mentioned a little bit about the life cycle of a business. So that entails looking at the idea stage and pre-planning, business development, management assistance, loan package, financial projections, grand opening, social media. We have a lot of our programming on digital marketing, digital media, as well as e-commerce. A lot of the businesses, both brick and mortar, but then on what their online platform is going to entail. We help with also the relationships with lenders, looking at funding opportunities to help with any of your cash flow projections, as well as your loan packaging. So we run the gamut of types of services that we offer to any of our clients. There's a lot of text on here. I'm not going to read it. I don't really read slides anyway, just trying to consolidate the information. But just so you know, we, as I mentioned, we are a public-private entity or program. So we are funded by the Small Business Administration on the federal side and through the state and through SUNY, as mentioned earlier. So because we are federally funded, we cannot assist with any businesses that are illegal or have gambling or any investment when it comes to activities that are deemed to be legal or not, I say, prudent in the eyes of the federal government. So these are the types of businesses that we cannot work with, or we have limitations. And we hear it a lot. That includes cannabis and marijuana as well. Small business, our staff, as I mentioned, we have over 90 offices, including both the 22 centers and the 70 outreach offices. So I have almost 200 staff that are across New York. So that is a combination of full-time, part-time, contracted professionals that are from the industry, as well as graduate students and student interns. So we have various expertise and skill sets coming from both the academic side, where it can be faculty and students, but then also individuals that have they're in their maybe first to fourth year of career types of tenure, where they come from industry or they have the skill set and the background to assist with the different types of businesses that we work with. We work with about 24,000 businesses each year in the state of New York. And with that being said, our top industries are professional services, retail, manufacturing, food, accommodation, restaurants, and entertainment are our top industries across the whole state. More assistance in agriculture, international trade, as well as government procurement, as specialty services and programs to businesses that are established, that are expanding or looking to expand their revenue streams. And looking at the specialty service, and Martha talked about EACs and their government procurement. We do have government procurement assistance in our network with the SBDCs, whether it's an advisor that is specialized with MWBE, Minority Women Business Enterprise certification, and going through that process through ESD. We also have a portal that's called BidLinks that we pay for. It's no cost to the client. It's to assist with any bid sources and leads on the local, state, and federal government side for contracts and opportunities. So we help with the client to develop a capability statement, look at their needs code, and developing a profile so that they can get a quick email and a list of opportunities are readily available every week or so, so that they don't have to go searching and looking at if this makes sense, if they fit the opportunity. We help tailor that information and then also help them with responding to the actual opportunity itself. EntreSkills is another key resource for our entrepreneurs, both pre-venture and for established businesses that are looking to revamp their business model or business management. This is also available. We have K through 12 entities, both in the classrooms and teachers utilizing this for their entrepreneurship classes, but it's a business planning tool as well as modules to help understand the aspects of a business plan and business concepts. We have a specialty module for military individuals and veterans, as well as MWBE, to focus on the scope of minority and women entrepreneurs and the kind of hurdles and adversity that they would have to go through. There are some peer-to-peer type of roundtables that we have and we hold for entrepreneurs as well, so they can learn from each other, both from the startup and established side. But these are self-paced courses where they can be utilized to help write their plan. And then all of our other workshops and educational programming, as I mentioned, not only the one-on-one advising side, but also additional services that we do in partnership. It can be on cybersecurity, it can be on marketing, e-commerce, Etsy, Shopify, different types of programming we offer either for free or a nominal fee to clients. The one-on-one advising is no cost to clients as we are funded by the federal government. But when it comes to workshops, these are both in person and virtual and held on a monthly basis. And you can go to the events page to look for more opportunities, as well as filter out for your local SBDC or regional statewide offering. We, as I mentioned, how we're funded by the federal government. So we look at how we can assist with our local communities, and that is with business development and what you all are focused on, revitalization, bringing jobs to the community, capital formation, and the needs to help with brick and mortar or renovations and expansion of businesses, business starts, and the clients that we serve. So these are the ways that we are monitoring our success and support to the communities. And that's it for me, Lissa. There's other information services that I wanted to keep it short. I know we have a lot of great other great speakers, but if there's anyone that has questions or wants more information, I'll be more than willing to help accommodate and answer those questions.
Sonia, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And it's just amazing a number of resources that are available at the local level. So thank you again. Next, I want to move to community development financial institutions. So unlike the EACs and the SBDCs that we just heard about, CDFIs are actually independent organizations and don't provide uniform services across the region. They provide services based on their missions. So some CDFIs may provide housing assistance, some might provide technical assistance, but actually let me back up a step because I'm jumping right ahead. CDFIs are community development financial institutions, and they are certified by the U.S. Department of Treasury. They're known as CDFIs, and they share a common goal of expanding economic opportunity in low-income communities by providing access to financial products and services for local residents and businesses. So as I was saying, they don't provide uniform services like the EACs and the SBDCs. Some CDFIs are banks, others are credit unions. They could be microloan funds or venture capital providers. And each CDFI provides different types of services and financial assistance. So there's a link here that Matt will put into the chat that has a map of CDFIs. They're all across the country. We have 80 CDFIs in New York State. And it's best to get in touch with your local CDFI and see what type of service they provide. But today we're going to hear from two CDFIs in particular, Pursuit Lending, which is a statewide CDFI. Nicole Scribner is going to speak with us today. She's with Pursuit Lending. She has over 30 years in the banking industry and made the switch to commercial lending about 4 years ago. She's now part of the 7A group at Pursuit and is focused on general business financing, including startups, acquisitions, and working capital requests. So go ahead and take it away, Nicole.
Thank you, Lissa. Hi, everybody. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I'm going to present Pursuit to you today. And yes, we have a CDFI under our umbrella, but we've got a lot more than that. So about us, we were created shortly after the SBA was created back in the 50s. We are all about small business. I don't like to read slides either, but we have about 15 different loan programs in-house. So when a borrower comes through our door, we really break it down. What do they need? What can we do? We have loans from $5,000 to $5.5 million. So why would you work with Pursuit? More options, more opportunity. We are a non-bank lender. We're actually a certified development corporation. So our bread and butter is SBA loans. So again, when somebody comes through the door, we figure out, is it going to be SBA eligible? How can we help them? What do they truly need? Because most of the time they don't know what they need. So options, support, and then responsible lending. That is, we look at all of our projects as, is this going to be something that's going to work for the borrower? We don't ever want to take a bad loan and try to make it good. If it's something that's not going to work right now, we educate the borrower and help them through that. I absolutely love this slide. This is kind of the core of where is a business at in its life cycle. So it kind of starts out at the bottom with your new business and how do you raise capital? Friends and family, you know, the First National Bank of mom or dad or grandpa. And where does that come from? How do you get started? And then as you get off the ground, you know, your options get better. Then you can go to your alternative lending sources, your alternative community lenders. That's where we fit in. That's where other CDFIs fit in. And then when you're established and you're at the top of that ladder, then you can go for that premium financing, which is your bank loans, that give you the most options. So we have like I said, 15 different loan programs. So when you're looking at these DRI projects, you know, a lot of times you've got a lot of moving parts within that. So we break down, what are you trying to do? Is there going to be real estate involved? Is it going to be just working capital? Is it something that you need a lot of money or a little bit of money? And that's where we say, are we going to do a micro loan, which is a loan up to $50,000? Are we going to do a 7A loan or Community Advantage, which they're essentially in the same bucket, but we look at them a little bit differently? Or is it going to be real estate where we have to do what's called a 504 loan and get your bank partner involved? So there's a lot of different things. I don't ever expect anybody to know exactly what these are. It's just know that there's options out there. You know, are you doing something that's going to be long-term or short-term? Is there leasehold improvements involved? So we have products that will fit every one of those needs. And to Sonia's point, only if it's legal. We don't do anything in those same industries. You know, SBDC is funded by the SBA. We do SBA loans, so we are lockstep with SBDC. So anything that we do, they understand. When I refer folks to SBDC, I say they have the answers to the test. So go there and get the answers, and then come back with your business plan, and then we'll work together. So 504 loan, this is a real estate or large fixed asset loan. So these are going to be tangible things. Loans range in size from 50,000 to 5.5 million, and we do have to have a bank partner with that loan. And what this does is it mitigates the risk between three parties. So instead of just your bank and your borrower, now you've got your certified development corporation, which is Pursuit, that kind of slides into the middle. Typical structures are 50, 40, 10. So the borrower brings that 10% down payment to the table. We provide 40% of the funding, and then your bank provides 50% of the funding. And it spreads that risk out and makes that deal a little bit more attractive for all parties involved. And the terms go up to 25 years. Interest rates on those are fixed, and you'll pay whatever your current bank rate is. And then the Pursuit portion, you won't actually know what your rate is when you close the loan. At the end of the month, we package all those loans up and we sell them on the bond market, and that's where your interest rate comes from. And it's also a fixed rate. And it's, you know, time to funding, that's a very interesting conversation that we have, because it really depends. There's no such thing as an easy deal anymore. There's nothing that's cookie cutter. So we move as fast as you move. So if we have a really responsive borrower, things can get done in 3 or 4 months. If it's a huge project, it's going to take quite a bit longer. And then there's that structure, that 50, 40, 10. If it's a startup, the equity portion for the borrower goes to 15%, and then we just back our 40 off to 35. And then the 7A loan program, so I actually work with the 7A group. This is general business funding, so essentially anything other than real estate or large fixed assets falls into this bucket. Leasehold improvements, furniture, fixtures, equipment, inventory, working capital, business acquisition. So when you go to buy that business and there's goodwill involved, which is an intangible, and it's you're buying the good business name and the business history, we have to come up with a value for that. So the 7A loan program is an outstanding vehicle for that. Any owner-occupied commercial real estate, and that's something that is critical. SBA loans are owner-occupied. You have to be 51% owner-occupied. We don't do large strip malls. We don't do huge apartment buildings. We do small business loans that are getting money into the hands of small business across New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. So it gets very technical. If you have a 2-story building and the business is on the ground floor and there's apartments on the second floor, we're going to include parking lots. Is there outside dining? Is there any shared space? We'll get out there and get very technical with those spaces. But if it's a 3-story building and the top 2 are apartments and the bottom is going to be the business, then that would not be SBA eligible. And then we also do debt refinance. So you've got a super high interest loan that you had to take out because for whatever reason, we can look at putting you into a better position for your cash flow by doing a debt refinance with the 7A program as well. Up to $5 million. The term is up to 10 years. If there's no real estate involved, if there is real estate, we can go out to 25 years. The interest rate is it depends because we have options to lock that rate, but mostly it's a Prime Plus product. And then time to funding, this is a little bit faster. Takes us about 30 to 45 days to get it underwritten. And then off to the SBA for approval and then back towards closing. So we can typically get these deals done in about 90 days. And then we have the SBA microloan, which we don't use for startups at Pursuit. That is an existing business, a boosted capital up to $50,000. It's a very simple process. We can usually get them funded within the same week. If I get an application on Monday, I can usually have it funded by Friday. And the best part about the microloan is business advisory services comes with this. So as a microloan lender, we also get funds to provide technical support to our borrowers. So we can hire professionals that help our businesses move forward. So a business is a restaurant, let's say, and they've got Todd, the dishwasher, running their Facebook page for them. Well, we can actually hire somebody in the marketing world to help them put together a social media plan and do a little bit deeper dive into their social media, and we pay for all of that. Once they're a microloan client, they're always a microloan client. So even if they pay their loan off with us, they still are eligible for those services going forward. And a beautiful part of that is that we also, because we're hiring professionals, we're also paying those professionals. So we're putting money back into the community for our business clients that maybe they were a microloan recipient at one point and now they're one of our advisors. So that's just feels really good. And then the microloan is up to 50,000. Like I said, it goes out 6 years. The interest rate, we currently are charging 7.75, which is below prime. There is a small fee on that. And then, like I said, it's very, very quickly funded. Business advisory services goes along with a microloan. And something that we've gotten really good at doing here at Pursuit is tagging a microloan with some of our startup loans and our other loans that we do 504 or 7A. For example, I have a new business in the Hudson Valley that actually was referred to me by SBDC. So two gentlemen started this restaurant. They are both minority borrowers. It was just an absolute completely made sense to tag a microloan with them because they're restaurant owners. They're not bookkeepers. They're not marketing people. They needed help with these things. Gave them a microloan. They're working on getting their startup off the ground with all of their marketing support. And we also got them QuickBooks to help them be more organized. And that's it. That's what we do at Pursuit. So I'm actually working a couple of different DRI projects already, 2 in the city of Gloversville and 1 in Amsterdam. So I'm becoming very familiar with what the projects are and with what being a recipient means. So, and it's been absolutely wonderful to learn this.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Nicole. We appreciate your work and your help. And next, I'd like to hand it off to Tyra Hucks Johnson. Tyra is the Western New York Operations Director for LISC, the Local Initiatives Support Corporation. She leads community engagement and stakeholder relationships for Western New York office. She also manages the Western New York program team in developing and executing on market-specific initiatives. Tyra joined LISC in November 2019. She began as the lead developer education program, creating developer trainings for commercial real estate and affordable housing developers. So this is bringing in that affordable housing piece, which is so critical to many of the DRI New York Forward programs. So thank you so much, Tyra, and take it away.
Thank you for having me here today, and I hope all of you are doing well in your seats. Again, my name is Tyra Johnson Hux. I'm the Western New York Operations Director of LIST New York. Again, that stands for Local Initiative Support Corporation, which is a national CDFI. And we work with underinvested communities to give them capital, provide strategy and technical know-how, specifically for areas where low and moderate income people live and where they can thrive. So LISC is an organization that has about 38 markets that we're in. So we are one of the larger CDFIs in the country. LISC New York City was the flagship office that started about 40 years ago, but last year it converged with our Western New York office. And so now we are actually actively working on projects across the state. And I will say for myself specifically, I actually visit quite frequently now the Capital Region, the Finger Lake region, Central New York as well. So we are doing work, although I may be in Buffalo and we have colleagues in other areas, we are working throughout the state. So let's go to the next slide. That's the slide, and talk about our 3 pillars. And I know I'm the last person, so I'm going to try to do this as quickly as possible. But I just wanted to point out that we have 3 pillars that are 3 key pillars. One is radical healing, which counters racial bias and inequity. I will say specifically for this audience, I want to point out that one of the ways that we like to do that is through creative placemaking and arts initiatives. Our second pillar is inclusive economic transformation. We like to prioritize human talent, community health, and diverse enterprises. And our third pillar is sustainable wealth generation, specifically in communities of color. And we do that through several ways, whether it's home ownership and asset building, entrepreneurship, and more. So I want to go to the next slide and we talk about I'll quickly go through this. These are our priority areas. So we do work with affordable housing, economic development, workforce development, and health equity. And I just wanted to quickly point that out. Let's go to the next slide. But today I will speak specifically about our work in economic development. Next slide, please. Ooh, let's go back one. So this slide is one that I developed specifically for this audience and how lists can work with our corridors, our commercial corridors, how we connect people and places and businesses to grow inclusive local economies and drive equitable access to opportunity. So again, we're local, but we have a national breadth. So we actually work with offices across the country. We talk to them about best practices. I was actually out in LA just last week talking to my fellow LISCers about how we can strengthen corridors across the country and what are the techniques that are best utilized in those corridors. We have a comprehensive approach and we have many programs, products, and services. So today I decided to give you like a little bit of a case study for some of those things, whether it's investing in communities and people, building capacity for our governmental agencies or our CBOs or community-based organizations. We also do a lot of advising on equitable practices and engagement. We're good at bridging, whether that's leveraging public-private partnerships and maybe leveraging perhaps something that you're getting for ESD as a grant product. And then we also implement projects with local organizations. So if we can go to the next slide, please. I'm so happy that Pursuit went into a lot of detail about lending products, and I won't go too much into that, but I wanted to just tell you really quickly that these are the type of loan products that we have. We really are heavy on real estate loan products. And I would say our sweet spot is pre-development. And so we do commercial products, commercial projects, I should say, and housing projects. So as the woman from Pursuit differentiated, you know, for their product offering, you may need to be a small business that's taking up a certain amount of space in the project. For ours, we work a lot of times with developers, so they may be doing a larger project. I would say, and especially in the Western New York market, I know myself in particular, we work very closely with Pursuit, so we don't necessarily work against each other. We're going to try to get you the best product that fits your needs. So if I know that what you need is better served to you by Pursuit or another CDFI, I think all of the CDFIs are going to try to point you in the right direction. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, this is just an example of some of the work we've done to invest in areas. So in addition to investing by lending, we also do grant projects. So this particular grant project is one that I'm working on right now. And it's a $3 million program that was created by the governor to assist businesses in East Buffalo. And this was the area that was affected by the tragedy that happened in May 14th. So this is an ongoing project where we're working directly with business owners to deploy capital to them, $5,000 to $50,000 grants. So that's one example of how we invest in communities in addition to our loan products. Let's go to the next slide, please. So this particular project, the Mount Vernon South 4th Avenue corridor, is something that is a current project. I see that there is a typo, so I need to correct that. We conducted, there was a study conducted in this area in 2017. It wasn't 201, it was 2017. And that study was conducted by area stakeholders. And then LIST was actually able to provide some financial support through dollars that LIST had acquired. And we're working with a partnership between several community stakeholders and trying to figure out how we can improve an existing corridor, the conditions, do beautification efforts, strengthen small business, and of course, generate an inclusive economic development area. So we like to look at a targeted approach for areas and work with stakeholders to see how we can best do that. Let's go to the next slide. This is another program. This is a signature program for LISC New York, the Developers of Color program. So this is a program where we provide technical assistance to developers. These are not necessarily novice developers, so it's your first time out the gate. This program may not necessarily be for you, but I would say this is more mid-level developers. So it's a program which is several weeks long. We've already gone through 3 cohorts of it. We are actually trying to deploy this in some of our upstate markets. I am actively working to try to have a program not only in Western New York, but also in the Finger Lakes and Rochester, and also in the Syracuse area. And what we're really trying to do is to support the ecosystem of having more developers, people of color in particular, and creating networks for them. So they're networking with each other, they're networking with experts in the field. We provide coaching for them. We have a digital platform, and which is a learning platform facilitated online, but we also have in-person events. And one thing I would point out is at the end of this, we have this Shark Tank style event where you are preparing to pitch your development project to different financial institutions. So it's not just LISC. We bring in other banks and financial institutions, investors, to hear what those developers have to say. And hopefully they walk away with a deal, or at least the start of a deal. Let's go to the next slide. This is another example that, when it comes to CDFIs, I think this is a little bit unusual. We are actually leading a team of several nonprofits and one for-profit organization. And this a clean transportation prize is called a Clean Neighborhoods from NYSERDA. And this is an investment in place, an investment in clean mobility. And you can see on the slide, there's several different things that we're doing, whether it be greenway revitalization, workforce development, small business education. And I wanted to put this up there because this is an example of the type of place-based work that we're doing, and that it goes beyond, I guess, typical lending to also supporting communities in need with technical assistance, but also looking at things through an equity lens and how we can really help to revitalize neighborhoods. Let's go to the next slide. And just as a final slide for this audience in particular, I wanted to just reiterate and point out some of the things that we could do, whether it's New York Forward or DRI. We can act as an engagement partner. We act as a capacity builder. So one of the things I didn't mention is that, or perhaps I'd like to underscore again, is that with our community-based organizations, we may provide financial support, but we also provide technical support. We can, of course, act as a lender and also an equity advisor. And our website is down at the bottom. It's list.org/NY.
Tyra, thank you so much. And thank you also for raising the issue of equity, because that's a priority for the DRI and the New York Forward programs. So that's an important component. Before we turn it over to questions, the one thing I'd like to just underscore is we've thrown a lot at you in this hour, a lot of great information. You don't have to get in touch with each of these individuals or the organizations that they represent separately. They all work very closely together. So consider each of these programs as kind of an entry point, and they will help guide you with the other resources that are in the field. The main thing is to recognize that there are great resources available locally, and you don't have to be sitting at your desk wondering how to expand a business or how to start a business or how to get financing or how to get technical assistance. Reach out to any of us and we can help guide you and get you into the network that will help lift you. All right. So now I'd like to go to questions. Matt, do we have any questions in the chat?
Not currently.
Okay.
There was a question about, sharing the slides. So you will be sending those out?
We will be sending those out. Let me just stop sharing this screen. There we go. We will be sending out the deck that you saw today, and we'll also be sending out the recording. So you'll have all of this information. Okay. Someone just posted, thank you so much. All of the presentations were excellent. Thank you to our panelists. You all were excellent. I'm trying to get to the chat, but I'm having trouble with the mouse. Matt, is there anything that in the chat?
See, there's a bunch coming in here.
Any questions or any comments that?
It said in terms of support, if it is about building a mobile app, is that something that one can be helped with?
That's a good question. Do any of the SBDCs, the EACs, the CDFIs provide support for mobile apps?
So we don't actually build the mobile app itself. That's more of providing the business management side of it, of the feasibility, looking at the market. We assist on that end. We do have a pilot program that's run out of Pace University that's covering the state on website and social media assistance, and that is a kind of framework draft. We do break down what that would take logistically and financially, the capacity to continue to run that, but that is the closest thing we would do on the implementation side of assistance, Mohammed.
Lisk or Pursuit, do you do?
I'll just say quickly, that is not our area of expertise.
Okay.
And that could be something that if it was a Michael Lombard where we could work with them to get them towards that.
So as far as the entrepreneurship assistance centers, we do not provide mobile app building, but we do work with consultants that perhaps we can connect them to help them with that development.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you. Tyra, just a question, because other presenters mentioned it. Does LISC work with any of the cannabis shops that are opening or trying to open? Or is
That's
that something that you would be willing to work with?
That's a great question. That is something that we're actively exploring at LIST New York. However, since LIST is a national organization, sometimes, although there may be changes in the state, we don't necessarily fault because it is a national issue. We may not necessarily jump into it as quickly as we would like. So at this point, although we're exploring it, we are not currently working with businesses, cannabis businesses.
Okay. Right. Matt, any other questions that,
It asks, when will the 2023 forward presentation recordings be published?
is that this presentation that? So I'm not sure exactly what the attendee is asking about. If you're asking about this one, hopefully it will be available by the end of the week. If you're asking, I know as other webinars are being done, they're being added to the New York State DRI and New York Forward website. So if you go to New York State Department of State DRI website, I believe there's a link at the bottom for capacity building webinars, and that's where this one will be listed as well. And if you're asking about when decisions will be made for round 7 DRI and round 2 New York Forward, those we hope will be made by the end of 2023, beginning of 2024. The Regional Economic Development Councils will be making those decisions after the applications are all submitted the end of next week. And I'm still having trouble with my mouse, so I'm not able to access the chat. Anything else, Matt, that we should?
Is there anyone that I can be in contact with for? So it looks like maybe a follow-up question here. Oh, and I guess it's in reference to the support for the mobile app. Is there anyone that I can be in contact with for that?
Yes, I sent a link to the location that I mentioned, Mohammed. It's in the chat. And I will send you the individual that's running that program as well, contact information.
And I just added a link for the New York Forward Capacity Building webinars, if that's what the question was previously.
Thank you so much, Matt. I appreciate that. Okay, any other questions?
Not seeing anything else on the chat.
Okay, so we're about 5 minutes over, so I'm going to wrap up. Thank you, panelists, so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. You all are just incredible in terms of the work that you're doing and supporting small businesses and nonprofits in the field. We appreciate all of your work and the work of your colleagues. Thank you to all the attendees. If you have questions, please feel free to email us at the Department of State and we will connect you. And this recording will be available. And thank you again, everybody. Enjoy your beautiful Wednesday. Hope you have a wonderful week.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.